So here it comes, my exclusive interview with the man who is tasked with re-electing President Trump in 2020. His campaign manager, Brad Parscale, who ran the digital strategy back in 2016 and got a lot of attention, is now opening up on border security, the Russia investigation, the path. His mind and how he works and how he sees all of this is quite interesting. Take a look. So let's talk a little bit about something you tweeted yesterday. You said the president, according to your internal polls, has the highest numbers that you have ever seen him at. Yeah. What number is he at in your internal polls? Well, so we've been monitoring him over the entire 2-year period and prior to that, but we kind of started it all over when he became president and he got into office. And watching the data, you know, I started to see this rise as he started making this fight. And I'm not surprised by it because if you go back and you look, if you look at the people that are kind of these swing voters, these people who possibly not like him for personality or different reasons, the number one reason they will vote for him is because of his stance on border security. So you're not going to tell me what the number is. Our RCP has him at 42% right now. That's an average of polls, as you know. The way that I look at it is more relative. Like, you don't have to look at an exact percentage. It's relativity based off the success of every day. So you credited Facebook in terms of your targeting strategy when President Trump won in 2016. How is your Facebook strategy going to change for 2020? Well, you got to understand, 2016 was a different race than what 2020 is now. As being an incumbent, we're building a different operation now that we have in 2016. In 2016, it was very grassroots. As you know, the campaign sometimes at its best operated at a fraction of what probably was needed. It was mobile, it was changing, it was adapting. This was a man running his first candidacy ever. And in 2020, the operation is different. This is going to be a much larger ground game. This is going to entail new technologies, new things. Look, Facebook's still going to have a play, but we've already harvested really what we need off Facebook. So the way you have to look at this is we try to harvest and bring people in to become direct contacts, cell phone numbers, email addresses, things that we can have direct contacts. A good candidate might have 4 to 5 million by election day. We'll probably be 40, 50, 60 million. We might possibly have everybody that could vote for the president in a direct contact method by election day. That's what we're spending this energy doing for this whole time. So that's the kind of thing that President Obama used to work on. You know, whenever anyone came to a rally, they'd ask them to, register. They'd get their information. Is that the same way that you're doing it? Yeah, but even on steroids. We're doing more than any presidents have ever done before. How are you getting people's information? Well, that's what we're doing. That's why the president announced me so early. People were like, what are you going to do, 1,000 days out? What are you doing 3 years out? Well, we're doing top-level funnel marketing. And what that is we need to find every person that's going to vote for the president and would vote for the president and go find them now. It's a lot cheaper to go find them now, not when the media gets all full and the commercial and the advertising gets more expensive and we have to rush to find them. Why not find them 3 years out? How are you finding them? Well, explain to people who don't understand. All different kinds of advertising. I don't want to give away all our secrets here on TV, but there's a lot of methods we use to get them in there, and we find them. We need to find them all across America, and especially in key swing states. Just give me an example. And there's the other day during the border fight, we had an advertising up and it said, text Trump to 88022, and any Trump supporter can text on their phone, just pick it up, dial 88022. And it will immediately suck them into our system, and then they can start having direct contact with us. And then when election time comes, when donation times come, we know how to speak to them because now we have their cell phone number. So before the Oval Office speech the other night, you guys were fundraising off of that speech? No, we weren't fundraising off that. What we do, though, is when we're doing advertising, anytime we're fighting, when people say, yes, I'm with you, we give them a chance to connect with us, fight with us, support us. It might not be asking for money. It just says, come fight with us. And we give them a method to do that. We have not directly fundraised off this other than some emails and some things to go out. Look, this is a fight for the American people and not for the president's, re-election account. This is a real argument that the president needs to make. So in 2016, the success of the Trump campaign hinged a lot on what was called a rural revolt. Yeah. Voters who really hadn't been reached out to in a long time. President Trump campaigned in places that they hadn't seen candidates for a long time. In the midterm, we saw something different, which was coined a suburban revolt, if you will. College-educated women who may have voted for President Trump or voted for Republicans who then switched over to Democrats. A lot of people believe Pennsylvania, for example, is no longer purple looking at 2020, that it's blue. Do you agree with that? And what are you going to do in Pennsylvania? Well, I don't agree that the data does not show there was a suburban women revolt. Actually, between 2014 and 2018, there was no change in the vote in the Republican Party between suburban women, white women, educated. If I look at the data right now in 20, in the same kind of data I was pulling in 2016, the president is light years ahead of where we were on election night in 2016. So you spent about $44 million on Facebook last time around. Does that sound roughly like what kind of investment do you imagine in 2020?
Well, it depends how you look at it. I mean, we're still spending millions of dollars across all the networks now. I mean, by the time we're done spending, I imagine in 2020, it will be nearly $1 billion. It's just a different game then. That game was over a few months. This game's over almost 4 years, because we can be fighting now. So the Democrats can go and fight against all of them right now, and then they have to come out of their convention and they have a 3-month run like we did last time. We're already fighting now. We're already building now. We're already doing more than any campaign has ever done before, and we're still 2 years out.
I want to ask you a little bit about Cambridge Analytica, and there was an association between your business and their business in the prior campaign. They obviously ran into a huge headwind and basically blew up when it was discovered that Facebook had given them proprietary information on people's friend lists and all of that. But there are still a couple of people from Cambridge Analytica that are working on the 2020 campaign. Is that right?
Look, when I've said this several times, we never use any of that social graph information. We never use any of the psychographic data. We never use any of that stuff. I did hire employees out of Cambridge for staff, and they worked with us. I still work with a couple of those staff members because they are talented people, and they shouldn't be punished because the people who ran the company didn't know what they were doing and were not very good people. I'm not going to blame one individual that helped us win the 2016 election by being smart at other kinds of work that had nothing to do with that, and blame them for something the media made a hype out of that had nothing to do with that. And I had nothing to do with what Cambridge did at the top and the other, dumb things they did.
So you've said, I just have a couple questions with regard to the Russia investigation. You've said that the Mueller investigation needs to end. Obviously, it has not so far. There's news this week that Paul Manafort was sharing 2016 polling data and information with a man named Konstantin Kilimnik. The FBI says that this individual has ties to Russian intelligence. Here's what our Judge Napolitano said about that revelation, which sort of inadvertently slipped out this week.
This shows that Bob Mueller can demonstrate to a court, without the testimony of Paul Manafort, that the campaign had a connection to Russian intelligence, and the connection involved information going from the campaign to the Russians. The question is, was this in return for a promise of something from the Russians, and did the candidate, now the president, know about it?
What do you say to that?
Well, at the time, I was not in the position I ended up in the campaign, so I don't actually know what occurred at that time. My role did not pick up until, and I've said this multiple times, until after Manafort left. In the vacuum of his leaving, I came in to kind of take over some of his operations. I don't know anything about it. I don't know exactly what occurred. I'll probably learn the same time you do what occurred.
So Paul Manafort never said to you, can you give me some data? I need some information.
I was not in charge
I'd like
of data
to look at these numbers. You never had any interaction with him like that.
I was not in charge of any data at the time. I was not in charge of data and other operations until after Paul Manafort left.
So you had zero interaction with Paul Manafort?
Well, no, I mean, I talked about, never talked about that kind of stuff. The only thing we ever talked about were simple advertising website stuff. It was very simple at the time. I never had any kind of communication about that stuff.
And any indication that the information that he asked for could have ended up in the troll farms in St. Petersburg that these people have been indicted for?
I've continued to say I've never seen any kind of symbolism or any kind of connection between the ads they've run or anything we've done. And I've continued to say that only on Facebook they only spent less than $10,000, and we spent over $70 million in digital advertising, and $10,000 is like a little microsecond of what we were doing, and there's just no way it had any impact.
All right, back to the campaign for a moment. There is speculation that the president could face a challenger from his own party. Mitt Romney was asked the other day if he would support the president. He said, I'm going to see who's running. Sean Kasich has said if there's an opening and there's an opportunity, that is something that he would consider. What do you think would be the impact on Trump 2020 if that happens?
Well, I think the first thing is you have the most popular Republican president in history. He usually goes anywhere from 87 to 90% approval rating with Republicans. That would probably be the biggest uphill battle in history. You also are going to have one of the strongest campaigns in history. You have a party which now is the party of Trump. You see a following across this country of what Trumpism has become. I don't think it's a real thing, and I think it's just a leftover of a few people that are upset that they never figured out how to consolidate the Republican Party and never figure out how to win, and this president did. And I think you have you got some old Republicans that are a little sad that they were never important or relevant, even close to as much as this president.
Some people flash back to Bush 41, and they say, well, perhaps President Trump's I will build the wall promise could echo read my lips, no new taxes. And if he doesn't get the wall, that it could be the thing that helped him win the election in 2016 could sink him in 2020.
Well, this president can't sign legislation. or he can't make legislation, he can sign legislation. So somebody's got to make the legislation for him to sign it. So he can't do both. And you can see here that this president is going to fight just everything he has.
But it's a campaign promise nonetheless, just like read my lips and taxes.
And he's fighting for it every single day. And he's going to keep fighting for it. And he's going to get border security. He has already gotten billions of dollars of border security.
Do you believe by the time the campaign rolls around, we will have a wall?
It's not about just a wall. It's about border security. It's about cutting down on child trafficking. But he said over and over again during
the campaign, even when he was asked that, he said, no, it is a wall. It's a big concrete wall.
Walls do work. But he's also said multiple times, there's places where we don't need a wall. There's natural barrier. There's other ways to do it. It's not all about a wall. But we do need a wall. Walls work great. And I think that we need to have. And he's gotten billions of dollars already for one. I think he'll finish a large portion of that wall, and hopefully all of it. And that's something he's working for. But border security is just broader than that. And I think there's a lot of things we need to do. There's child trafficking that is a problem. There's drugs pouring across these borders. And also, it's just an unfair world where people all over this world that want to come to probably the most open and is the most open legal immigration country in the world. And when one country floods in illegally, it limits all the other countries to have a fair chance at the same dream.
Are you concerned about the economy? What's the number one issue, do you think, looking ahead at 2020?
No, I think the economy is strong. Look, it's about jobs. It's about growth in people's real wages, and I think that's occurring. I think that the economy is going to continue to be strong. I think the left's worried about what's happening in the success of Trump, and I think they want to spin out a narrative across the media that this is in trouble. One day in the stock market's go up and down. They're like lungs. They continue to do that. They've been doing that for generations. The job growth in this country is just unreal. The success Americans are having all over this country is unreal, and they're going to vote for that in 2020. They always will.
Before I let you go, would you rather run against Beto O'Rourke or Joe Biden?
Well, I think Biden hasn't had much of a success record in the past. I don't like to get into individual candidates, but I'm going to build the organization that's ready to fight all of them, and this president's going to be ready to fight all of them, and they're going to have a long ways to catch up to us.
Brad Parscale, thank you. Good to talk to you.